Uh, Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this fifth episode of the series Idea to Impact. As you all know, that in this particular series, we tell stories. It's not a typical webinar. It's not a typical hardcore discussion on economics and theories, but we tell stories here. It's a storytelling session, as I say. And the whole idea of the storytelling session, the objective in public policies, we hear about a lot of public policies, lot of things around which are operational, which are functional, which affect our daily life in some way or the other. But we hardly know the history behind that, that what really led to the formation of this particular public policy, which is operational now. So the whole idea of this Idea to Impact series is to invite those people who are organically involved in some way or the other while shaping this policy, while designing the particular policy. So today we are really honored to have with us Mr. Nima, uh, a former parliamentarian, member of the National Council of Bhutan, and of course, last but not the least, someone who was organically part while designing when the concept of the gross national happiness was being designed in his country, something which is unique to Bhutan, something that the whole world follows. And so before I start this session, let me give you a brief introduction about his country. Pardon me, Nima, if I miss something, but with all the little information that I have with us, I'm trying to portray a snapshot of Bhutan for all the participants here so that they also get acquainted, get some introduction of your country, at least through this webinar. So Bhutan is nestled in the eastern Himalayas. It's called the land of the thunder dragon. It's a kingdom where tradition and modernity coexist in serene harmony. Bhutan, as I said, is known for its gross national happiness philosophy. Bhutan embraces sustainable development while preserving its rich Buddhist heritage. With breathtaking monasteries, pristine landscapes, and deep spiritual ethos, this Himalayan jewel remains one of the world's last strongholds of untouched natural beauty and cultural authenticity. I would request my colleague, Dr. Tina, to play a short video of 4 minutes. I think that would communicate the essence of this particular small country, this unique country, in a nutshell. So to the extent possible. Tina, please can you play the video and then we will move to the discussion.
Welcome to this video where we will explore some fascinating trivia about Bhutan, a tiny landlocked country located in South Asia. Known for its stunning mountainous landscapes, rich culture, and unique approach to governance, Bhutan is a place that has captured the imaginations of people around the world. So, without further ado, let's dive into some interesting facts about this fascinating country. Bhutan is a country that values happiness above all else. It is the only country in the world that measures its progress in terms of gross national happiness, GNH, instead of gross domestic product, GDP. The concept of GNH was developed by the fourth king of Bhutan, Jigme Singye Wangchuck, who believed that the ultimate goal of government should be to create an environment where people can pursue happiness. To measure GNH, Bhutan uses a comprehensive set of indicators that includes not just economic factors, but also social, cultural, and environmental factors. This approach has been praised by many around the world for its holistic and human-centered approach. Bhutan is one of the smallest countries in the world, with a population of just over 700,000 people. It is also one of the most isolated countries in the world, located in the Himalayan mountains between China and India. Bhutan is a Buddhist country, and religion plays a significant role in daily life. The country has many beautiful monasteries and temples, and prayer flags can be seen fluttering in the wind everywhere. The national animal of Bhutan is the takin, a large and unusual-looking mammal that can be found in the mountains of Bhutan and neighboring countries. Legend has it that the takin was created by the great Buddhist saint, Lama Drukpa Kunli. Bhutan is known for its stunning natural beauty, with soaring mountains, pristine forests, and crystal-clear rivers. The country is home to some of the highest peaks in the world, including Gangkar Puensum, which is the highest peak in Bhutan and the highest unclimbed mountain in the world. Bhutan is also known for its colorful festivals, or Tishekas, which are held throughout the year in different parts of the country. These festivals are an important part of Bhutanese culture and feature traditional dances, music, and costumes. The national sport of Bhutan is archery, and it is taken very seriously. Archery competitions are held throughout the year, and participants shoot at targets that are placed over 100 meters away. Bhutan is a country that takes conservation very seriously, with over 70% of its land designated as protected areas. The country is home to many rare and endangered species, including the snow leopard, Bengal tiger, and black-necked crane. Bhutan is also one of the few countries in the world that is carbon negative, meaning that it absorbs more carbon dioxide than it produces. This is due in part to the country's commitment to renewable energy, with hydropower accounting for over 95% of its electricity. Bhutanese cuisine is unique and delicious, with a focus on spicy flavors and locally grown ingredients. Some popular dishes include emma dachi, a spicy chili and cheese dish, and paksha paa, a stew made with pork and chili. One interesting fact that not many people know about Bhutan is that it is one of the few countries in the world that has a ban on tobacco. In Bhutan, it is illegal to import or sell any tobacco products, and those who are caught violating this ban can face severe penalties, including fines and even imprisonment. This ban was implemented in 2004 by the government of Bhutan, which cited concerns about the negative health effects of tobacco and the impact it was having on the environment. Since then, Bhutan has been working to promote healthier lifestyles among its citizens, including through initiatives such as promoting outdoor activities and encouraging the consumption of organic foods. So, there you have it, some fascinating trivia about Bhutan, a country that is truly unique in so many ways. From its focus on gross national happiness to its stunning natural beauty and rich cultural traditions, Bhutan is a country that has something to offer everyone. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Dr. Tina. So without any further delay, let me just introduce the speaker. Mr. Nima is, in terms of academics, he holds a master degree from the University of Curtin in Human Services Counseling. He happened to be a teacher like many of us, and he used to teach counseling and education psychology in Paro College of Education. Thereafter, he decided to contest election and became a member of the Parliament of the National Council of Bhutan, and he was a parliamentarian for 2 terms, 10 years precisely. And then he thought he would try to contribute in some different way away from the parliament, but perhaps in a more meaningful way. So he has taken a break and engaged himself in other social activities to improve his country's growth and development. We are really honored to have you today, Mr. Nima. Thank you once again formally from all of us, from the Vinayaka Mission Research Foundation, Deemed University, and from the Vinayaka Mission School of Economics and Public Policy. I welcome you, and over to you for further discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Dr. Thakur, for your generous introduction about Bhutan and about me. As you mentioned, after serving 2 terms in the parliament, I decided to take a break, hoping that I would be able to contribute in some other meaningful ways, if not in the parliament. But one thing is for sure, I have definitely decided against contesting, but whether I can contribute in a meaningful way or not, that is yet to be seen. But having said that, I think Dr. Thakur, this is what technology does. I never met Dr. Thakur in person, so does he. However, through some social media platform, we got connected, and then this is what is happening. Now, whether whatever I speak would be of any use or not, that is, I leave it up to you. But whatever I'm going to speak, I will try to speak through my own experience. Whatever I have seen, whatever I have experienced, whatever I have heard uh, on the topic of gross national happiness. And today, Dr. Thakur, the professors, and the faculty members of Vinayaka Mission School, and I believe there are some student friends as well, and all the viewers. Good evening, and thank you for taking time. I am sure you would have a lot of expectations to hear about gross national happiness and about Bhutan. But if I'm not able to live up to your expectations, please forgive me. I'd like to apologize in advance. And at the same time, if my voice crack in between, because of the internet connections, for that also, I would like to apologize in advance. Thank you once again, Dr. Thakur, for this opportunity.
Just to add, Nima, we are also live streaming this particular discussion. So there are people who are watching using YouTube and other platforms. Please go ahead.
Okay, so anyways, all the viewers, thank you for taking time to listen. And now I don't actually need to introduce Bhutan because Dr. Thakur actually has packaged this today's webinar in such a way that Bhutan is thoroughly introduced in a span of 4 minutes. In Bhutan, we believe in a philosophy called cross-national happiness. Today, I am told that we have students of economics and social policy. So you may find what I'm sharing a bit of stupid idea, or sometimes very different and unique from conventional theories and philosophies of economics. However, it was in the early 1970s, during the time of our fourth king's coronation. He declared that gross national happiness is more important than gross domestic product. So initially, it was difficult. Perhaps I was not even born when the idea was conceptualized, and later when I went to the school, even as young as in year 3 or year 5, 6, teachers used to tell us about gross national happiness. And then back then, we found it difficult to understand what gross national happiness was. But as we grew up, Bhutanese began to learn that it was a profound kind of philosophy that would later guide Bhutan in its economic development. The gross national happiness actually has 4 pillars. It is founded on 4 pillars, and the first pillar is sustainable and equitable economic development. Now, we are not saying economic development is not important. We are not trying to discount the fact that economy is not important. Yes, economy is important. For any country to survive, economy is important. There is no two ways to it. However, what we are trying to say is that economic development must translate into creating conditions that will provide happiness for the people, that will help people become happy. So therefore, when you're talking about health facilities in Bhutan, basic healthcare is free in Bhutan, basic education is free in Bhutan. So all these, through all these services, social services, the government is trying to promote condition that these people live in a healthy and prosperous life. That's one thing. The other thing is that environmental preservation. We place huge importance to preserving our environment because, as all of you may agree, Bhutan is a mountainous country, it's a Himalayan country, and it's a fragile ecology. So therefore, it is very important that we preserve our environment. Today, more than half of Bhutan is covered with natural reserves, parks, And even in our constitution, it is enshrined that not less than 60% of Bhutan must remain under forest cover in all times to come. And today, if you look at the forest cover in Bhutan, it's about 72%. So Bhutan is not only carbon neutral, but Bhutan is carbon negative. So therefore, uh, through environmental preservation and through sustainable and equitable economic development, we are trying to also lead this to what is known as the third pillar, that is preservation of the culture. In the world of globalization, uh, our children, our younger generation get exposed to various things happening around the world. And with the introduction of television, with the introduction of internet, and with our younger generation getting exposed to all kinds of social media platforms, things are changing. There's no doubt about that. Things are changing, and then our younger generations are getting influenced. There's no doubt about that. But having said that, we always try to promote that as Bhutanese, we must not forget our roots and our traditional values. We do believe that as the country modernizes, cultures will evolve. Yes, it should not be static. Culture must evolve. But at the same time, when it evolves, we must understand the impact of evolution of certain aspect of culture. So that is what we are trying to be careful about. And even in schools, when I was a teacher, uh, I not only teach the subject that I'm supposed to teach. We, with my students, I try to discuss some of the old traditional values. And then I let the students debate, because some tend to find such old traditional values as being redundant and not useful. So as I mentioned earlier, if certain aspect of the culture is redundant and not useful, if it proves to be harmful rather in the modern century, then by all means we have to leave it and go for a change. But as said earlier, when you're talking about change, the change must bring in positive result. So that's the third one. And then fourth and the last pillar of the cross-national happiness is the good governance. I mean, we have the pillar of sustainable and equitable economic development. We have environmental preservation, we have cultural preservation, but if there is no good governance, all these aspects would remain useless if there is no good governance. If we do not have the leadership. So therefore, a while ago, as I was talking with Dr. Thakur, we in Bhutan are blessed to have enlightened leadership in our His Majesties, the kings, and therefore they have been guiding us through and through all aspects of the country's development. And then even today, as I speak to you, I remain positive that it will continue even through generations to come. It is because of their leadership, it is because of their steadfast commitment to the development of Bhutan and then safety of and security of this country. They have shown us great leadership. And all of us, for instance, people like myself, we look up to His Majesty for guidance, and which he never failed to show us. So because of that, and then today when you're talking about good governance, I mean, Bhutan has recently, in 2008, transitioned into constitutional democratic monarchy from absolute monarchy. And we have, in 2008, we have had the first parliamentary elections. And the transition was very smooth. Unlike in other parts of the world where people fought for democracies, the transition in Bhutan was very smooth. In fact, it was the leadership himself, the fourth king himself, who decided that I'm going to give you democracy. And then when His Majesty, the fourth king, decreed that he is going to give democracy, people were reluctant. People, in fact, said, we don't want democracy, we are happy under you. But His Majesty, the fourth king, what he said, when there are good kings, you would find the current system useful and helpful. But what if later in future, if you have a bad king? That is the time where people's voice is very important. So because of which today we have constitutional democratic monarchy. And as I said earlier, it was not the demand from the public, it was not people who fought for it, but it was His Majesty's, the monarchy themselves, who pushed down democracy upon the people against their wish. So when you're talking about governance, and then decentralization did not happen in 2008 alone. The process took many years back, decades back, before 2008. Local government institutions were established even during the time of the third king, and fourth king, and today we have the elected government through the royal decree that Bhutan must embrace democracy and then not live in the old system of the governance. So these are the four pillars of cross-national happiness. And then under these four pillars of cross-national happiness, there are 9 domains. And now under the 4 pillars, as I said, there are 9 domains. These 9 domains, 5 of them are primarily related to all these social aspects of the development. Say, for example, health, education, then I'm forgetting now, health, education, and yes, living standard, ecological preservation, diversity and resilience, and good governance. So these are the 5 domains which are primary. And then apart from that, there are other 4 domains which are community vitality, then we have cultural diversity, we have time use, and then we have psychological well-being. And under these 9 domains, now I'm not trying to get into so much details because of the lack of time, because I think we need time for Q&A as well. So under these 9 domains, I think after the 2008 elections, when the elected government came in, through the Cross-National Happiness Commission, they started working on having indicators under this 9 domain. Because one of the first criticisms that people had about cross-national happiness is that can it be measured? How can the cross-national happiness be measured? That was one of the perhaps the first criticisms that we had. So therefore, people got together, researchers, scholars, many of them got together, and then they worked on indicators. And today, if you look at under 9 domains, there are 33 indicators. And then based on these indicators, there are certain scores given to each indicator. And based on these scores, surveys are conducted, assessments are conducted. Let's say in 2010, a survey was conducted on gross national happiness. And then I think another one was conducted in 2015. And these surveys actually help us understand where we are going wrong, which policies we need to change, or which new policies we must bring about. So these surveys actually help us understand that. And then even in terms of allocating budget for various districts, the results of the GNH surveys are included, considered. Say, for example, in terms of health, if one of the districts scored low, and then if under education, if one of the district scored low, then accordingly the budget would be distributed and allocated, planned budget. So GNH survey not only actually helps in understanding the actual situation of the people on the ground, but also it helps in allocating and distributing budget for the 5-year plans or yearly plans. And now, as far as policy formulations are concerned, and then even lawmaking is concerned, we have what is known as the GNH screening tool. Any policy before adoption must pass through the GNH screening tool. Similarly, when we are working on a new act, or when we work on amending any old acts, we try to put this through what is known as the GNH screening tool. Because under GNH screening tool, there are certain parameters which a policy in certain aspects must pass through. If a policy is not able to get certain score that is required by a certain parameter, then that policy has to be reworked, that policy has to be amended, or sometimes that policy may not come into life at all. So one policy that I can talk about is tourism policy. Many countries, perhaps people from many countries, and some who I have met and talked with, feel that Bhutan is very expensive destination to travel to. And say, for example, we charge about $100 per person per night. If it is from third world countries, and then if it is from our neighboring country, we charge about 1,200 rupees per night per person. Now we have a reason for that. And again, as I said earlier, these policies have gone through certain screening. Now, some people tend to think that Bhutan is very expensive, but when we try to explain, people tend to understand that yes, you're right in having such policy. We believe in what is known as low volume, high quality. Because Bhutan is a small country and we cannot think about having too many tourists at a time, because Bhutan being a very cheap destination. Because we have to take care of our environment, we have to take care of our culture, and then we also need to think about our capacity, how much we can really absorb. So therefore, by making it a little bit expensive, perhaps it helps us provide quality services to our visitors. Because we believe in hospitality, we believe in providing good services, quality services to our guests. And again, where does this idea come from? It comes from the idea that happiness, meaning when you are talking about gross national happiness, we are talking about happiness of not just one or two individuals, we are talking about happiness of collective people. And then let's say collective people of Bhutan, and then if we can extend to this regional level, and from regional level, if we can extend this to global level, nothing like it. But one of the questions that people ask us is, are all people in Bhutan happy all the time? But when I'm talking about happiness, happiness is very subjective. At the moment, I may be happy. Next moment, I may not be happy. But these are very subjective, and then for various reasons, we have different emotions. Yet, when you're talking about, when we are talking about gross national happiness, we are talking about the state being responsible, the government being responsible enough to create conditions that would help people achieve happiness. I mean, it is enshrined in the Constitution of Bhutan itself that the government and the state must create conditions that will enable happiness in the Buddhist people. So, government on their part is trying to do whatever they can so that people in Bhutan live a healthy and happy life. But we are not trying to claim that we have achieved everything. It's an aspiration. We are working towards it, and my generation, maybe perhaps next generation, I wouldn't know whether we'll be able to achieve this philosophy fully and completely. That is nobody knows. That is something nobody knows. But at least I tell people that try to appreciate the fact that we are trying to do something that the world did not even think of. Uh, and then today we are also happy that many people, scholars, scientists, social scientists, anthropologists, all these people have taken keen interest in the idea of gross national happiness. So I think that basically is about it. Perhaps I would try to question some answers.
Yeah, thanks, Nima. It was really nice, and I was patiently listening to you. Now, uh, I have two, uh, you know, uh, when you talk about these preservation of the culture, and when you talk about the allocation of budget, so as seen in many cases that when budgets are actually prepared, when budgets are allocated, which we call the budget estimate, in most of the cases, I hope I don't know I mean of any such country where whatever is promised is actually spent. So, this, I mean, there are a lot of reasons. It's not to demean anyone or demean any government. There are practical reasons for that. So, when you talk about these budget estimates, etc., so any figures? I mean, how big is your budget in terms of, let's say, totally? For example, when you talk about India, we quote some figures. So, let's say a country having population of certain number, or is there any discrepancy in what is the average dispersion between what you spent actually end up spending and how much you actually propose to spend, or is there any gap between the two, or if it is, how high or how low it is?
Um, in terms of budget allocation, Doctor, you were trying to link that with cultural preservation.
Yes.
Yes, there was a time when some in the parliament felt that budget must be spent on something that would generate economic return. Say, for example, restoration of a monastery.
Mm.
Does that give any income in
Exactly,
return?
exactly. That's what I
So,
was trying to
yeah.
understand. Yes.
So does that give any return on investment? So there was a group who felt that way. But some of us, we felt that there are certain things that income and economics cannot explain. Because when you're talking about restoration of a monastery, you're talking about the spiritual beliefs of the people.
Correct.
And I, as a Buddhist, always believe and tend to think that um, it is because of my beliefs, it is because of my values, I'm who I am. Let's say somebody who doesn't believe in any spiritual aspects, somebody who does not believe in any religion, somebody who just believes in uh, medication and treatment in the hospital. Now, this person goes to the hospital and gets treatment, but what if the treatment doesn't work? But because of my beliefs, say for example, I fall sick, I go to the hospital, doctors are not able to treat me. What I turn to is spirituality, rituals, and even some people even go for long-term retreats, meditation, and then these are scientifically proven to have benefits on health. Meditation is believed to be having profound positive impact on our health. So because of these reasons, uh, we always argue. We also argue is that not everything will have economic return. Sometimes there are certain things that gives us happiness that even money cannot give. So that is what we believe, and therefore, although as I mentioned earlier, there was a time that some felt that money should not be spent for all these non-economic activities, but most of us in the parliament, we always felt that these are very important, even more than economic activities. These non-economic activities are very important because that is our cultural identity. Bhutan is unique. We are different from many countries in the world, and we are independent, and we survived when the whole world was going through wars, and when the bigger countries were trying to colonize and dominate the smaller countries, we remained independent. Of course, one because of our policy of isolation, but the other one because of our culture. Say, for example, I don't know whether, doctor, you find people in India wearing these kind of dresses, uniforms. One time I was traveling in Switzerland. I was traveling to Switzerland. I went for Interparliamentary General Assembly. And then our Buddhist delegation, we were in our national dress. So because the meeting hall and the place where we lived were close by, we were walking along the street. Suddenly a Swiss guy comes up to me and says, Kuzu Zampo, meaning he was greeting us in Bhutanese language. And then he was saying, I've been to Bhutan. It's a very lovely and unique country. So cultural identity for us is very important. So therefore, doctor, I tell you, it's not just about economic returns when you're talking about budget allocation. It's also so much to do with the happiness and then satisfaction that people derive by spending budget on non-economic activities like restoring a monastery.
I think this is a very important point because just a bit. Because when we see that the whole world, actually everywhere, all countries are trying to reduce the allocation for social sectors, or more precisely sectors which do not bring economic return directly in that way. But this brings reminds me of the typical discussion on the investment in human capital, which we have read in our university days, that what wonders it can make if we just invest in human capital, which might not give return immediately, but in the long run, in many other ways, it will give you back. So glad that you raised this point, and really this rings a bell. So we can open the floor for any further questions from students and faculties who are present here. Yes, you can type your question in case there are issues in your microphone. Anvisha, Ashwin,
Sir,
Yeah, you may raise your question, Ashwin.
yes,
Bala Murugan, Faith.
sir, I need to know how culture is helping in economic policy. That's still not work to the point. I think I need to have some explanation on culture. That's it, sir.
Uh, thank you, Mr. Ashwin, for your question. Um, as I mentioned earlier, we believe in preserving our culture, but at the same time, we also believe in cultural evolution, the change in the culture. Because today, when you're living in a modern world, we cannot uh, always maintain that age-old culture tradition is important, and therefore, whether it is harmful or whether it is redundant, we should preserve it. We don't believe in that. First of all, cultures evolve, and then if the change in the culture brings about positive impact on the lives of people, definitely it should change. That's one thing. And the other thing is that cultural identity for Bhutan and even for our friends down there in India. India is a multicultural, country, and therefore, I think culture is very important for all of us. Now, how directly culture will bring impact on the economic development? That is something that we can discuss all together, perhaps later uh, in a different session. But all I'm trying to say is that since culture is important for the identity of the people of Bhutan, culture is important for the independence of this country. So, therefore, even more than economic development, I would consider cultural development, cultural preservation very important. Because what is the use of economy if Bhutan does not uh, uh, remain an independent country? So therefore, what I'm trying to say is that we are trying to preserve our culture because uh, maintain, we would like to maintain our identity as Buddhist people, as the people of the Kingdom of Bhutan. And once we remain an independent country, once we remain Bhutanese, it is up to the Bhutanese to work towards economic development of Bhutan, actually.
Thank you, sir, for the answer.
Um, okay, I think there are no further questions. Is there any further questions for Nima?
Sir, I have another question, sir.
Please go ahead.
Sir, your country is with 700,000 people and it's very clean and neat. I also visited Bhutan when I was studying third standard with my brothers who was working in Indian Army. So they took me to Bhutan. I saw everything is beautiful, sir. How we can develop and make our India beautiful like Bhutan with large population? Do you have any idea for suggesting it?
Um, I think uh, one, because of our size, yeah, Bhutan is a small country, and then we are blessed with pristine environment. And then another one, as I said earlier, our leadership. Because although Bhutan maintains a pristine environment, our ecology is very vibrant. If we did not have the leadership that we had in the past and that we have in the present, we could have destroyed that within no time. Because Bhutan being a very small country, and then if our leadership did not, if our leadership was not visionary, we could have lost everything by now. Because being a small country, to destroy our ecology would not have taken much time. We could have cut down our forest, sold our timber. We could have done mining unscrupulously. We could have destroyed everything. But because of our visionary leaders, Bhutan is what Bhutan is today. So therefore, what is important is leadership, and then at the same time, uh, leader alone is not enough. The leader must be supported by wise and educated and caring and loving people. And at the same time, general people must agree with the policies, laws, and then people must respect what the leader try to do for their country. But I can, you know, comparing to India, Bhutan, as I said earlier, we have this comparative advantage of size, and then we are blessed with the natural environment, pristine natural environment, and then leadership. I'm not saying India did not have good leadership. Yes, India did have good leadership. India does have good leadership. But all I'm saying is India is too big a country. And I tend to feel that now the responsibilities must come from smaller pockets, local governments,
Correct.
states, and then, if all the states come together to protect their natural environment, to promote clean and green environment, to promote carbon neutrality, then all your states would have clean and green energy, clean environment. Then definitely India is going to have very clean and how should I put? India is going to have a natural environment as clean as what we have here in Bhutan.
Thank you for the answer, sir.
Can't agree more. Can't agree more with you, Nima. Charity begins at home. And you have rightly said, I mean, these days, actually, when we talk about the SDGs and all these things, the local governments are playing an important role. And the ultimate role actually lies at the household level, rather. So it's more of an individual responsibility more than the state to keep things clean and to remain
True.
clean, because the kind of wastage that we see that we generate every day. I mean, I think it's time has come that we think in a very local way at the individual level. So for you, of course, you are in an advantageous position in many ways, but countries like us, the challenge has to be dealt at the individual level primarily. And if individual succeeds in performing his or her duty, at least to some extent, wonders can happen. So yeah. So thank you so much, Nima,
And
for yeah, please.
other thing is that even in Bhutan, we have people who live in the villages,
Ah,
people who did not go to school,
oh,
but there are certain knowledge about natural environment passed down from generations to generation. Let's say even in the past, while perhaps even Buddhism was not very popular in Bhutan, people believe that even in some areas today we believe that there are spirits in rocks, there are spirits in river, there are spirits in trees. We should not cut them. And I mean, these are certain ways how people in the past protected their environment. So today, um, when you go to the villages, if there are people who do not understand the significance of preserving environment, the onus is on the local governments, authorities, concerned, responsible uh, people to educate them, create awareness about the importance of environment. I mean, some people may not necessarily be littering the places, for instance, with the intention to, create problems in the country. But they may be doing it so because they are not aware of its consequences, because they are not aware of their actions. So perhaps going to these people by the concerned authorities, educating them, creating awareness, I consider that very important and useful. Even after doing that, if people are not listening, then next action is to create policies, laws, and then penalize the offenders if they are doing intentionally. But first, teach them, educate them.
Very important. I mean, on this note, since you mentioned this, see, in our tradition, and I think globally also, if you look at our ancestors, the history, we used to worship the environment. We used to worship trees, rocks, and all those kind of things, rivers. And there were
True.
not many forms of deities. It came much later, much later in the history. The different kind of deities, or the different human forms whom we worship as God or messenger of God, something like that. But even much before that, this existed in
Yes.
the form of trees, rivers, rocks, mountains, and that actually helped in preservation. There's a whole lot of literature in that, which still now, and for example, I'm in Tamil Nadu in India. So it has a unique culture of having big lakes, kind of water reservoirs beside every temple. And Tamil Nadu is known for
Yes.
temples. The whole reason for this is Tamil Nadu was perennially a state with lot of water shortage. It's not a state which is fed by the the glacier rivers like Ganga or something like that, and having a water flow round the year. So see how thoughtful the ancestors were, that they insisted to create big water reservoirs just beside the tip. It has some other utilities also, but mainly those were part to what we call today water harvesting in the so-called sophisticated language. So yes, I do agree with you, and if there is a scope to in future, since we are a school of liberal arts and we have scope to study such certain things as you have mentioned, in future if there is a scope to study these things what you have mentioned, I think that would be really nice for all of us to not only know your country or your practices better, but also learn from them. And maybe some, I mean, I see a lot of scope for further research and further study to go in depth and understand those things. And you have raised a very valid point. And I think as academicians, as researchers, our role lies in how to balance these two, because we really cannot stop urbanization, we cannot stop modernization for all obvious reason, but we also cannot really neglect the culture wherein where happiness lies at the core of everything. At the end of the day, the person is happy, because nowadays when you talk about urban poverty and all these kind of things, it's much related to the stress, the unhappiness, and everything related. So I think today what we have discussed, Nima, it is really an important issue, and you have touched a few things very significantly, which rings a bell, and maybe in future I might get back to you to understand these things in a much better way. Thank you very much. I really am short of words to express my gratitude that you have agreed to deliver this talk. It's not about the time, it's not about the number, but it's about the intense discussion that we had, the meaningful discussion that we had within this short time span, which is certainly will give us food for further thoughts, and probably to work together in future for a better world. Thank you so much. Thanks to all the participants and the viewers. Thanks to everyone. Thank you once again, Nima.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If I'm able to create some confusion in you, I would remain satisfied, because now there's an opportunity for you to make a comparative study between what I said and what you're learning in your institute. And
Correct.
I'm telling this to my student friends because there are a lot of scholarly articles that you can access online. And then please understand what I'm trying to say and read more and then make a comparative study. Because at the end of the day, what you study, what you learn is not going to impact anyone in future, is not going to bring about any positive change. Is it worth studying? So therefore, please, my humble request is that do a comparative study. Later, who knows, some of you may be doing PhD in GNH versus conventional economic policies. So anyway, Dr. Thakur, thank you very much for the opportunity, and all the viewers,
Just
thank you
one.
for taking your time to listen.
Just one line to add, Nima. See, I have always believed once a teacher, always a teacher. And what you said in the last few lines brings the teacher in front of us rather than a former parliamentarian. Thank you very much. And really, we are honored to have you. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.